Hello, guys, and welcome back to the Suddenly Twenties podcast, episode 9. Today's episode is about...
Oh, it's Life Etc. week, so we are going to be talking about investing in your future versus creating memories. So essentially, like, what you're spending your money in or saving your money for in your 20s, I guess. So, yes.
Yeah, very big topic. I feel like people don't often address life like this, but I think that it is something that every single one of us in our 20s needs to make a decision on, not just like big life decisions, but small life decisions where your money goes each pay, and whether to book that trip that your friend has asked you to go on, or whether to rent, move out of home, you know, go to uni, follow a passion that doesn't get you enough money to do X, Y, and Z, or all that kind of stuff. So super relevant.
And I feel like at this age, everyone's asking you what you're doing as well. So it's kind of the time where you do, even if it's subconsciously, decide to be saving a lot or to be booking those trips or going out every weekend. I feel like you're subconsciously doing either one of them. Or trying to juggle both, really.
Yeah, and I think that there's such a wide variety of people who do different, like, balances of the two. Some people do it completely 100% one way, you know, and then others kind of have a very opposite attitude to that. And then you find a lot of us in the middle. But I do think that it really ties into, like, who you become friends with and who you end up with a partner. And like how your parents raised you. I think that's really interesting. And
no, definitely, because if you're friends with people that don't want to travel or don't want to go out, that's not going to work. So you definitely have or like your partner as well. If you're not like agreeing with what you're both spending money on, I don't think that relationship will work as well as it could. So we put up some polls on Instagram, but the first one we put up was, what would you rather spend your money on? And it was either a house deposit or travelling. And that was 60% travelling and 40% of you said house deposit. So travelling won in that question, which is, I don't know which way I thought it was going to go.
I think it's interesting. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what I expected. I knew what my answer would be, and I don't know what I expected.
I'm torn between the two as well. Like, I'm one of those ones that are trying to juggle both. Like, you want to travel, but you also want, like, to set yourself up, I guess.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a hard decision.
Yeah, like, you're not... Yeah, it is a hard one, and it's hard to... Like, we did have several people reply to us saying, like, both. Because they just can't literally decide.
So the next one was... on weekends, would you rather spend your money on hustling for your future or creating memories? And that was 90% creating memories. So, which I think, a lot of people do. That anyway, like
I definitely, I know some people who would I would say, sorry, Sam's calling me. I do know some people that, like, I personally view as, like, the hustlers on the weekend who, like, won't come out and see friends and stuff like that. And then I also know people who, like, that's their main priority is to create memories and spend time with friends. And I think that that's also just as healthy. And I kind of hate that there's that, like, hustle culture or hustle, what is it, porn at the moment. Like, that's like the thing that's been happening in, like, recent years. Yeah, and that it's like, you should be really proud of yourself for doing that. But I also think that people have forgot to live in the moment, and it's just a really big problem with society as well. So you're giving up on a lot by doing that, and yes, you may be a hard worker, but I think it's interesting. But
then it's interesting because a lot of people's answers are different, where they choose to want to set themselves up for the future, but they're not hustling on weekends. So it's like,
exactly.
So
and you've got to do it if you want it.
Yeah.
Like,
so the next question was, do you save for traveling, activities, adventures, or moments, or B, investing buying property, growing your savings account.
I did find it really interesting to anyone who hasn't seen the polls and obviously can't see the results. I found it interesting to watch how some people's answers changed.
Yeah.
And it almost somewhat didn't seem consistent in my mind. It would be like, I spend my weekends hustling and what was that question?
But yeah, that's what I meant. Like, people pick to save, but then they're spending on weekends.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't consistent the whole way. So it was very interesting to see. So I feel like that kind of shows that you want to do both in a way, and you're stuck at that level where you're trying to make these memories, but also trying to save and build like a future with financial freedom. So yes.
Yeah.
Next question.
Yeah.
Yeah, so multiple savings accounts. We're wondering if you guys had multiple or just one. So if you separate the two from like traveling versus your long-term savings, I definitely have multiple accounts for those exact reasons. So like a short-term travel one and like a long-term like home deposit one, and that's like so much easier. So I don't know what people have one account.
I literally did up until one, I read the Barefoot Investor, and two...
Did I make you read that?
Yeah.
That's what I got off.
Think, yeah, literally, mine's like my own version now.
Yeah.
But like just the general
Modify
concept
just
of like... Bit. Yeah, like we're with ING, but I was anyway before that. And then... Yeah, like, I don't know, just the general concept of, like, having different accounts for different things and just, like, separating the money as soon as it comes into my account after my pay is so easy. Like, we literally have 12 accounts, I think.
Yeah. It's way easier to juggle your money like that. That can be, like, a whole episode. How to save.
Yeah, we could do that, actually.
And then our next question was, do you see your 20s as years to make memories or years to set yourself up for kids, careers, and financial freedom? Memories one again. I completely get it though. Like, it's so hard. Like, you want to set yourself up, but you also want to live your life in your 20s. It's just such a hard thing.
Yeah.
And then we just asked, are memories a type of investing? Which pretty much literally all of you said that.
There were a few no's, which I just would love to, like, have those people come explain that to me. I just, like, I think that's, we'll get into it.
At 50, what will you appreciate more? So the memories and stories to look back on, yet less finance, or financial stability and a happy family, but less memories. Memories one again. I feel like, we're going to talk about that a lot soon. Are you in a situation where you're trying to juggle both? And a lot of you said yes, which I think everyone deep down is. So, and then this was an interesting one. Have you been influenced by what others have chosen around you? So, I said, for example, like uni, are all your friends going to uni? Did that make you want to go to uni and hustle down on your career? Or are all your friends traveling and you've wanted to travel? Or are they all buying a house and now you feel like you need to buy a house? And a lot of you said you were influenced. So I would just love to know, like, more stories about that. From different perspectives and, like, why. But we have a few responses that we'll read out at the end, so...
I haven't read them. Now I don't have my phone, so I can't even read them ahead of time.
So we'll address them. But, I think it was interesting to see a lot more people choose memories. I expected it to be a bit more closer, I think.
Yeah, I thought it would be more 50-50.
Yeah, I think when you look at it on a piece of paper, memories versus careers, you think memories. So, but then people are, like, in the real world doing opposite. So.
Oh, you're so right. It's like when you're asked a question, you'd be like, memories.
Yeah.
But like,
are you really
in the
doing
moment,
that?
Are you really doing that? I think that's such a good question because that's like what today's society has, like, kind of pushed us towards the opposite. and like no one lives in the moment, like no one
100%.
Like, people have to train themselves to like be present in the moment with mindfulness these days, because everyone's so like needing the best job and like earning the most money and buying the most amount of property, etc.
Yeah, exactly. And we're still so young as well, but you just feel like so pressured. I feel like the age is getting younger and younger for when to start investing your money or buying property or shares or whatever. So, yeah, it feels like a lot of pressure at this age. So we're here to talk about it.
Woohoo!
So, but essentially when we're talking about investing in your future, we're saying you're more career driven, going to uni, or you might be invested in shares, you might have already bought a property, all things to do to like kind of give you a head start in life, or to set you up. You're more thinking about essentially your future, and when you're older, rather than spending money now. And then when we say versus creating memories, it's more you're working, but you're working to spend your money in these years. So spending money on like experiences, traveling, doing things when you're young rather than saving that money for when you're older. But I feel like it's a pretty 50-50 from all my friends. I feel like a lot more people are. It's hard because this is the age where most people go to uni. So it's hard to go to uni and spend your money on traveling because you don't really have much money going through uni, I guess.
See, just to like kind of segue off a little bit, but it tracks into what you were just saying. I called my mum before this just to kind of ask her, and I said, like, reflecting on your life, my mum was a big traveler, hence why I am. And I just said, like, what would your advice be for a 20-year-old? And she actually said to me, like, she thinks that before 25, you should do anything you can to live your life, like to go traveling. And she said, wow, you're not like financially tied down with a house, you know? She's like, while you're at uni, work a part-time job, save that part-time money, try not to like, or try to live at home if you have that luxury to do so until like you need to start spending money, because you're young, you're kind of in that little bit of like, you can be more independent, you can be less independent, you can live at home, save money, go traveling. And so that was her advice, is she was just saying, you know, generally up until 25, like just focus on you and like creating memories. And then after 25, which I thought was interesting, she's splitting the 20s down the middle. Rather than classifying that as an age bracket. Like, so yeah, it was just interesting to hear her say like, while you're at uni, do the traveling. And I was like, well, I mean, not everyone can do that, but not everyone can do like any of it. So yeah,
exactly. But what do you feel like you fall into?
I mean, I feel like it's hard for me to say just because like I'm sitting in a house that I own right now. But I think I've always been way more in the travel creating memories area.
Definitely. But then I think you're definitely creating memories, because even like just looking at what you spend your money on as well, like we're always like trying to book trips and stuff while we're still saving on the side for like the long term things. All our short term is like, let's do it now kind of. Yeah.
And like, I'm not going to lie, I would not be in a house that I owned if it wasn't for COVID. Like, it was a blessing in disguise, because I would have put every single cent I had towards travel.
Yes, true. Yeah, we would have been traveling that whole past 2 years, 100%.
Back in like January 2020, we were talking about, I was going to Japan and Bali and Singapore. Then we were talking about going to Europe in summer. Yeah, and like and Thailand at the end of the year. And I'm someone who, like, I don't feel like I'm wasting my money though. Like my view is like pretty confident in the way that I do that. And I know it can bring a lot of judgment, especially the way I spend my money. But like, I don't know, I've always been very like memory focused. And that is why I have a YouTube account because I just feel like I want to, instead of kind of working backwards and working to make money to go travel, I figured why not twist the situation around and make money traveling to travel, to make money to travel, and do that as a living. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I think everyone's situation's different as well. Like, you're definitely in the creating memories category, but your situation, led you to, owning a house. So everyone's situation's so different. But I feel like forever I was definitely creating memories, because I remember even finishing school thinking, oh my God, I need to travel right now. I don't have enough time to travel. And then, I mean, I look back now and I'm like, oh my God, I was 18. Like, that is so young. Like, the older you get, the more you realize how young you are. Like, when you think these things. But, I think I'm just trying to juggle the two, I guess. Like, I definitely recently am so much more aware of, like, trying to live in the moment. I'm so big on that for myself as well, just because a lot of, it just goes so quick, and I'm one to think I don't want to look back and think like I wasted those years, but I'm definitely one for creating memories, and I've always wanted to travel while I was young. So, but then again, I'm really good at saving as well, so I do have those like long-term savings, but it's just whether, I mean, Shay and I have gone back and forth so many times, because Shay wants to buy a house soon, so I'm more traveling, he's more buying a house, but we kind of meet in the middle. So it definitely works.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah. And how do your conversations go when you talk about it, you know?
Well, I think it's funny because he just hasn't traveled much. So as soon as he does, like when we went to Bali, he got the bug and was like, yes, I got the travel bug, like needs to travel, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And then, but then when we're at home, we haven't traveled for a while. He's like, I want to buy a house. So it's kind of us trying to juggle the two, which a lot of people would be in the same situation. So we, going back and forth on what to spend our money on, because like we said, we want to live overseas in a few years. So it's like, do we spend all our savings on, like, do we jump the gun and buy a house with that? Or do we spend all that money moving overseas or something? So it's just like, we're just going with the flow for now. We're just saving, but also, we also love to, live in the moment and create those memories. So we're trying to balance the two, and I think that's why those multiple savings accounts do help as well, because you can save for your short-term, everyday, weekend memories, but also save for those long-term goals. So that's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to like hustle down for either one of them, I guess. So
I'm just curious. So do you do like the splurge, smile, and fire extinguisher?
Yeah. So if you haven't read it, it's the Barefoot Investor.
Highly recommend.
Highly recommend.
Absolutely it's have like, to.
You don't even have to think about your money, and it's so easy to set up. But I guess we can.
I think we have to do an episode on it, because we are very similar, and I could talk about the way that I spend money and how it literally changed my life.
Exactly. Well, essentially this episode is like how you're saving money in your spending or saving money in your 20s. So I guess that's why we're on this topic. But to go more in depth, let us know if you want us to do an episode, because saving's a big one in your 20s, and and
how to do it is like,
and Shay was a really bad saver, and now he's like so good. So
I was fucking terrible. Like, when I say
you were so bad.
Oh my God. When I was in second year uni, I didn't have a job, and not because I was lazy, I physically couldn't have a job. Like, my autoimmune condition was really bad at the time, so I couldn't do any hospitality or retail or standing up and walking around. So I was like, shit, I really want to travel. I remember crying in like the December of 2016, being like, none of my friends want to travel, and I'm so sad. Like, I have no one to travel with. Like, I was really heartbroken. And then I just said, you know what, fuck it. I'm going to Bali. I'm going to plan this trip. Started planning it, and I was like, this is so cool. I'm just going to invite everyone, and whoever wants to come can come. And I didn't have a job at this point. It was like April, and I'm like, guys, we're going to book this massive mansion in Seminyak. We're going to do like XYZ. And everyone's like, cool, let's do it. And I was like, this is so great. So we booked this trip, and obviously you don't always need to pay for everything like at the moment that you book it. And my flights were technically paid for by the government because I was going to visit my family. So
that's so good.
Yeah, it was so good. But essentially it would have been about $7,000 that I needed in total because I was then going to Thailand. I had a 5-week holiday to Southeast Asia. I didn't get a job. I was meant to arrive in Bali on like the 28th of December. I didn't get a job until the 9th of September.
Yes.
But I knew that I could do it, and I did it very easily, right? But and like I ended up finding a job and waiting for like the right job, and it paid decent money, and like I made it. And that's why everyone's like, you're fucked, Steph. The way that you view money is so risky. But I survive, and I have great memories. Like, people do not like the way that I spend my money.
No, as long as
it's
it
bad.
works for you, though.
Yeah, it gives me anxiety.
Sam's probably like, fuck's sake, Steph.
He's actually pretty similar in spending money.
Actually, he is.
Like, yeah, he's pretty bad too. Like he's better than me in some ways. Yeah. Hello. Yeah, but that's kind of an example of how like I lived my years at uni picking a holiday, figuring out what the budget was, and earning that much money. And I'd often come back from a holiday with quite literally $0. And then the only way that I managed to like get a house was because I quit my job and literally got the highest paying job. Like, I was determined that was like my goal, as I just said. And I like quit my job and started working full time, was on like $85,000 a year just to save that money. So yeah, and took no leave, etc. Worked overtime, and
well,
hustled.
It's like it's so hard because I feel like you finish school and you're like, okay, are you going to uni or are you working? I went to uni for a year. Surprise. But I dropped out after a year. My head wasn't in it, and the course I was studying, I just didn't want to study anymore, so I just didn't want to waste more money on going to uni and not being sure what I wanted to do. So anyway, I got a job, and so since I got that job, I've always been in the mindset of I'm saving to travel. I've always wanted to travel while I was young. But now I feel like, and you would probably understand this as well, like we at the moment are trying to work towards or hustle our passions as well. So not only do we work full-time hours, we're also working behind the scenes on what we want to make our career to be. So but then we're also trying to like live in the moment and travel and create memories. So it's super hard, but and that's where it comes down to that hustle. Like, I feel like this is the time to, I don't mean overwork or work long hours to just be like, I'm a good worker, but I do think like this is, if you're career driven or you want to make something your full-time work, then I guess these are the years to do that.
But then you have like no other commitments. You don't have children. And
but then there's also that balance of still living in the moment, which is what I personally am trying to do. And to help with that, I feel, because obviously I work full-time in dentistry, which I love, but I'm also trying to start all like the podcast and like all the modeling and side businesses and stuff. So that all gets done after work.
And what's your other business, Shana? What is it? Sorry.
It's called The Style Lineup.
Yes,
Shout out.
Go follow it. Yeah.
It's just, a hiring business. So definitely check that out if you're wanting to hire some outfits. But all that stuff gets done after your full-time job. So these are the years for us personally to hustle down and to make these this our full-time job, I guess. So we're just in the in-between area of trying to make that work, but then we're also trying to live our best life, making those memories. So I feel like for me, I try and stick to kind of like a schedule, but also make sure I don't overwork, or I give myself time to step away from like my laptop or phone, because that's where a lot of like our work is done. Because I don't want to look back and be like, I just was working, trying to make let's say this podcast, my full-time job, and now I'm 26, and like, where did those years go? So it's all about that balance, I feel. So I don't know, do you have like a schedule, because you do your YouTube as well?
Like, I think I am not like very good at it at the moment, and I'm trying to sort of figure out, because it's not just like about me, like I really do struggle, because when we were in lockdown, I actually felt like I was thriving, and I felt really confident in myself, and I was posting like really consistently, and I was really proud, and I could see growth. And then ever since coming out of lockdown and like almost being forced back into like creating memories on a weekly basis, I could see the other side drop. Like, I am only able to really get one video up a week, although I'm doing Vlogmas and it's the 1st of December and I meant to post once a day.
But that shows how
Christmas
hard
Day.
It is to juggle, like, both of them. Because in your 20s, you want to strive towards that career and also travel and make memories. So us
and
people
look
that are in
after
the middle...
yourself.
Yeah, us people in the middle are trying to juggle and balance two things, which is so hard. Instead of I mean, unless you're what was our topic, investing in your future, unless you're investing in your future and you're hustling down for that uni degree and trying to get that done now, and you want to travel when you're older, I find like that would be so easy, because you're only you're looking at one of them and you're like, I'm striving towards this, and I only need to think of this, and then that will happen
and like
in the future.
One career goal, good on you.
Whereas
Fucking
like I'm here
that.
and I've got 4 different things like going.
Me too.
Plus I also am trying to live my 20s. It's fucking hard, but I mean that's literally life in your 20s. So we are here going
like,
through it as well.
And I don't want to feel like, you know, we're saying if you don't have a side hustle or that you need to fucking do that, because that's not what we're trying to say. Like, you do wherever you fall on this spectrum of like investing in your future and creating memories. If you can invest in your future, which requires only one career goal, going to uni, maybe doing post-grad, like, you know, to become a lawyer, for instance, if that is your goal, fucking good on you, you know, do that, and then do as much creating memories as you want
in the future.
And but like I really do struggle with like the day-to-day creating memories, because I often, and it stems into a lot of anxiety. I'm like, do I really want to go tonight? Because I could, if I stayed home, get a video out on Sunday, and I'm like, is this night worth that? Like, what if that video is what helps me grow and therefore helps me become a full-time YouTuber on a full-time salary? Like, not salary, but like getting money and like getting paid for what I am working so fucking hard to do. So it's really hard middle ground.
It's so hard. And I feel like a lot of people in the middle ground. And I'm jealous that I am not in the middle ground. Kind of. Yeah,
I follow. Yeah, gotcha.
Not in the middle ground.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm in the middle ground, but I'm also like, I don't know if there's like multiple aspects to the question at hand, like the podcast episode, because I really am like I really am about traveling, and the reason I'm investing in my YouTube is so that I can travel for free. And
so like, in a sense you are investing in your future, because you want to make this YouTube your work, and that's essentially letting you create your memories traveling.
Yeah. And like, that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I'm like, I just want, and I feel like it's such a different opinion to most people, or something that maybe people just don't want to take the risk to do, but I 110% without a doubt in my mind would take that risk to invest all this time and money. Like, I own so much equipment, like I invest so much of my time and money into building a career that can hopefully let me create memories every single day.
Yeah.
Every single day, not just 2 days a week and after 5 p.m. I want to be creating memories, and my job to be creating memories.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
We did put up the question, have you been influenced about what to do with, like, from your friends around you? Do you feel like you have been influenced?
110% I have. And
with what part?
I need to so I think, like, oh my God, I have so many issues trying to, like, explain things when it comes to being influenced, because who I used to be is not who I am today, right? Mm-hmm. So now I'm not being influenced like around me, right? But the past me was, I had no sense of self. I had no, like, self-identity. I pretty much just did, especially as a kid moving around. Like, if I had stayed in one of the locations that I lived in, I'd probably be in the same area of life doing the same things that they're doing. So uni happened for me because I went to a private school and I was friends with private school people. Mm-hmm. Do I think I would have gone to uni otherwise? I probably wouldn't have even got in, right? I was like a C and D student when I wasn't motivated, you know? Like, I wouldn't have even gotten in. And I, again, set a goal because I was influenced by friends to go to uni and do psychology and law. So I, like, set that goal and I, like, achieved it. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of goals I have not actually achieved as well. But I was goal driven, and so I wanted to do that. But I was definitely...
But in the moment, you don't really realise you're being influenced by the people around you either. It just seems, like, normal until you, like, step out of that, like, circle, or, you step away and you actually look at it and you're like, oh my God, do I really actually want to do this? Or do I want to do this because everyone else is doing this and I think this is what I'm supposed to do?
Yeah, or, like, another perfect example is... Like, I don't know if you remember this, Shana, but in March, I had, like, the world's fucking greatest breakdown because Sam only wanted to buy a house, right? Like, he was like, I'm not renting, I'm not a renter, like, and he was just like, I'm happy at home and I'll live at home till I can afford to buy. And I was like, okay, but I can't do that. Like, I can't physically stay at home any longer. And that's why everyone's, like... circumstances are very different. Yeah, but I ended up just breaking down because, like, and quite frankly, absolutely love Sam, but the reason that I was struggling so much at home was because I was like, well, if I move out, he's going to end up living with me, but he won't pay rent because he'll still want to live at home, so I'm going to pay rent, and then we'll end up having, like, fights and stuff because he'll pretty much be at mine every single night anyway. And I was like, he won't move out with me, so I just need to stay at home until we can buy a house. And he wanted to build, and I was like, that's going to be so long and so far away, and he wouldn't even look at the market with me. And, like, that, I'm not pointing, like, it was not a relationship issue, it was just
you were both in different situations.
Yes, yeah. And, like, my mindset, or Sam's mindset really, was everyone in our friendship group buys houses. I don't know many people renting here in Canberra. Like, I really don't. And I found that really difficult because, like, I, at that stage in my life, was like, yeah, okay, like, it's fine, we'll buy. And then I kind of hit rock bottom and I was like, I cannot fucking be here any longer. And just because everyone else buys houses around me does not mean that we have to fucking buy a house. Like, I need to move out of home. And I remember saying, like, that was just this big life, like epiphany that I had where I was like, why the fuck did I let everyone convince me that that's what I had to do? Like, I could not believe it. And I remember saying to you, like, I don't know why I was so fixated on buying a house. Like, it was largely Sam, but that was largely our larger friendship group.
Yeah.
And so I really was influenced, and I just could not believe that I'd let myself be so influenced. And yes, we did end up buying a house, but
yeah, that's what I mean about Shay and I going like back and forth on what we want to spend our long-term savings on, because we're in two different mind frames of like buying a house, and I don't know if that is, it probably is coming from because a lot of our friends have bought a house, but then we sit down and we're like, but we want to travel, so do we want to spend that money on traveling and just rent? And yes, like renting, like at least if you buy a house, your money's going towards your mortgage and you're paying something off that you'll eventually own, and like renting is essentially like dead money. But also, not all people are in a situation where let's buy a house because their goal is to travel in a way. So that's where Shane and I go back and forth, because we're in that middle part of the spectrum where, yes, we want something stable to live in and something going towards being paid off for us, but also, do we want to just like rent and just like travel? And not saying you can't travel when you have a house, like it's still definitely possible, but it's just like a large chunk of your money goes towards your house. So
and while, you know, so let's just say, Shana, you and I are like, let's go traveling for 6 months. You're renting, I own my house. There's pros and cons to both, because I can rent mine out and kind of cover it, and maybe we're still paying off the mortgage a little bit. And like, so it's still an investment, but at the end of the day, only at the moment with the current market and the interest rates being so low, can that actually benefit us, where in the future, rent will be cheaper than our mortgage, and we'll have to pay this fee the whole time. Where you, for instance, if you wanted to travel for 6 months, end your lease and you're free. I think that's incredible advantage if that's your, like, if that's what people want to do, is to be able to just pick up and go, like, okay, I know in 6 months from now I want to go traveling for 6 months to a year. And so you just rent until then, and then you're not paying, like, you don't have that cost.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like it's, essentially I feel like you have to step back and think, what do I actually want to do? Don't try and think of, oh, but this person and this person have this, or I need to do this because I'm like going to travel or whatever. I think definitely my advice. Do you feel
like you're influenced by people?
I feel like I go up and down. Like, there'll be a day where I'm like, yes, let's buy that house. But then I'm like, and then next week I'll be like, I'll see a photo of like the Bahamas and I'll be like, nah, we're spending like all our savings on traveling the world. Do you know what I mean? Because it's so hard, because we've got it sitting there and we're like, we could do either or, but it's like, what do we want to jump on? So I think that's why also we haven't, like, bought anything yet as well, because there's not that 100% certainty that's what we want to do. I think deep down, I think I'm okay and I can accept that, but I think deep down that's what Shay's thinking as well. He just doesn't realise that he's not 100% on that, because he up and downs as well of what he wants to do. So I think definitely, I definitely want to buy a house. It's more, and I definitely want to buy it early so I can start paying it off, but then it's like, am I being more influenced by friends around me? I'm able to be aware of that, which is really good.
Yeah,
so
I think that's very good.
Yeah, so I can kind of step back and think, what do I actually want to do? But it's just, and I think at the moment it's really hard because, one, the market is fucked up here in the Gold Coast. So right now we're not buying a house because everything's selling for way too much. And then also we can't travel because of COVID. So we're kind of just like saving, I guess.
Chilling.
And also trying to create memories as well. So we're kind of doing the best of both worlds right now. So just there's no rush on anything. So
I agree.
But I think it depends on where you're living as well. Canberra, I don't know anyone who rents in Canberra, so I feel like if I still lived there, probably would have bought a house. So
I'm not gonna lie, I'm going to say it.
But I don't think that's a bad thing. Like, buying a house and getting in property and all those investments, so smart, and that's so definitely beneficial for your future. But it's just being aware of what you really deep down want to do, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, I think it's hard because I'm just like, my mindset really hasn't changed. Aside from the fact that I can't, like, my chair's so squeaky. Aside from the fact that we can't travel, if we could, I would be putting my money towards that.
Traveling. Yeah, and, exactly.
Like, I don't even have to think about it. I would. And I see traveling, because of my YouTube, I see traveling as investing as well.
Yeah, like, exactly. Like the question we asked. Like, is memories investing? And I think 100% it is. The amount of people, even other podcasts I've listened to, that say they've learned more in life traveling than they have done anything else. And their advice all the time is to travel. So I think that's like a very good point as well. So I definitely think memories are investment.
I 100% agree. Like, without a doubt. I actually had this tuk-tuk driver tell me in India that traveling is worth more than a university degree, and I will never forget him telling me that, because I was like, that's so fucking true. Like, if someone said you could do your university degree like for free or something, but you could never travel overseas again, I don't know whether that would be an easy question for people, but or if someone just said you could not go to uni or not like come away with your qualification or travel, I would choose travel.
Yeah.
I would choose traveling over uni.
Oh, same.
Yeah.
But I always knew I wanted to do that. My part-time job was going towards traveling, so I guess I'd fall into that. But...
yeah. And I think it's really interesting, the polls, like, because I personally feel like you and I bond over having a similar view. Like, I know I'm kind of very intensely on the creating memories side. Mm-hmm. And hustling in like a working towards being able to do that as my full-time job, but not like saving long-term sort of thing.
Yeah, so you're investing is going towards like, or working is going towards you being able to create memories, not necessarily investing in your future for past your 50s and for your family. It's to do what you love and create those memories.
Yeah, exactly. And like, but I do feel like in some way you and me, we became friends because we had this one conversation.
Let's share that story.
Yeah. Well, you go ahead, share it.
No, you can't put that on me because I don't remember.
Oh, okay, fuck.
Okay. Steph's like, I'm going to test the friendship. No, I definitely do remember. But you would remember more detail. But this is why we wanted to talk about this topic as well, is because it's like bonded over this. This was like our bonding conversation. This is what made us be friends. This is how we became friends.
Yeah, like we were like not acquaintances. We were friends before this, but like we became like almost inseparable from this conversation forward. Like, and it was pretty much just like this night out. I think it was like one of our friend Connor's birthdays, and we ended up at this bar. It was probably like 2 a.m. I'm not gonna lie.
It was really late because I remember no one being around.
Yeah, like we were some of the only people left on that night out, and I don't even know how we ended up outside on the deck chatting, but we did.
I don't know.
And it ended up so deep. Like, we were having the biggest drunk D&M, and it was like, we want to travel. Like, that's what we want to put our money towards. Like, and we were talking about how people want to invest in assets. Like, our quote was like travel versus assets, which is kind of what this topic is, and we just tried to find a fancy name, not going to lie. It was in our like list of podcasts to do as travel versus assets, so that's what we're talking about, guys. And yeah, we just like, we really agreed on that, and I think that there's a lot of people I personally still feel like in my life who just do not have that attitude, like at all. I really feel like Shana, you and Sam to a certain degree are two of the only people. Like, really.
And which is fine. Like, I mean, you can put all your money in assets. That is totally not saying that's wrong at all, but we're just similar in that.
I just think, it's interesting because, like, the polls kind of showed more people travel.
Yeah. But then when you think about it's like, but do you?
Actually, in saying that, what I've realized is I think we knew that from a young age. I take everything back that I just said. The difference is I think that people are kind of going through this phase right now. We're all like kind of 22 to 26, our friendship group. People are kind of coming out of their like high school youthful relationships, and they're being like, what the actual fuck? Get me to that country, get me here. And I think that's really interesting, right? Yeah. Like, I can see a lot of people who previously, because they were in relationships and their like circumstances, they were wanting to buy a house, and now they're like, fuck that. I want to go live my life. I want to create memories, like, you know?
And I think that's another influence on the assets is when you're in a long-term relationship, you're like, what's the next step? Oh, exactly. Like a house. So
yeah. And like I know for a fact, and I'm not sure if you can relate to this at all, Shana, but I know that people are kind of being like, when are you and Sam going to get engaged? And I'm like, well, to be completely honest, we've had this conversation and I don't want to get engaged anytime soon. I don't want the pressure to plan a wedding. Like, I would be happy to wait almost like 5 years for my wedding, not necessarily engagement, because I want to spend our money on traveling.
Oh,
like,
I say this to Shay all the time. I'm like, don't get me a ring because let's just spend that money on traveling. Yeah, like, I say that all the time, but that's just our opinion. So.
Oh, yeah. But I'm kind of glad Sam's not, like, offended. Yeah. And I even, like, I want my wedding to be overseas because I want it to be a holiday with, like, anyone who wants to fucking come. Like, we'll still have a 200-person guest list, but it's, like, that's their choice whether they want to come all the way to Bali or Italy, you know, rather than, like, spending it on one day at, like, a venue in Canberra, which is totally fine as well. It's just the way that I, like, I view life.
Opinion. Yeah. Well, that's what this is all about, just how we view different things, because this is, like, the main thing you go through as well in your 20s. Deciding what you want to spend your money on.
It's fucking hard. Like,
I feel like I look at it like I'm working towards what, like you are with your YouTube, I'm working towards what I want to do as a full-time job to be able to create those memories, because the job I'm essentially working towards isn't like a, I guess, 9 to 5 job, so I can do that traveling, so I guess everything is working towards traveling, but then there's that little voice in the back of your head that's like, set yourself up for your future, like, kind of thing. So it's very hard, but it's for me it's all about my balance, and I just I tell myself all the time, I'm trying to, like, live my life every day and not look too much into, like, the future and stuff, and that's why I try and stick to, like, my scheduling with all, like, the business side of things, because I don't want to put all my hard work into them and then not be living each day kind of thing. So that's what definitely helps me try and keep a balance, but also try and, like, work towards my goals.
I think, like, reflecting as well on the kinds of events or things that have left me with very fulfilling memories is a really good one. Like, I personally feel like going on a holiday, like, overseas is some of the best memories that I hold to this day. But also so is, like, chilling in a car with someone at midnight, which you can do and doesn't cost anything.
Yeah, and the spontaneous things are always the funnest.
Yeah, actually though, and I think that even if you want to create memories, I think there's a way to do that that's not traveling and spending all this money. Exactly. And so you really can find a balance. I
really
think
just being present and being in the moment, and that's another big thing I try to work on as well, is just to be, like, present and be in the moment, because all we do is think about the future or dread from the past. So that is, like, what I try to do as well. But should we read some questions that we got on our Instagram? So not necessarily they didn't have to be questions, but this one's very interesting, and I love it because I didn't actually think of it when I was posting, but she said, I love not separating these and then in like quotes, all or nothing mentality scares me. For myself, I know I want a healthy mix. So I think she's saying, we were saying before, we're not, a balance. We're not doing this all or nothing, like hustle every day, every week, and work long hours towards this one thing. We're trying to do both. So trying to live out.
And I think I just reckon part of the point of this episode is to make you conscious about the choices that you're making, because I feel like this is like a subconscious decision-making process that we go through on a daily basis. But to think about it, when you're consciously think and say is tonight's memory something that I think is going to invest in myself? Will I come out feeling fulfilled? Will it be something I tell my grandkids when I'm older? And I think having that attitude allows you to balance it and not waste your time with those nights that don't become good memories, and I think that's how I personally try to balance it, is I figure out is this going to be worth it? Is it with people who are worth it, without sounding mean.
And the next one, waiting to have kids or having them at a young age so you can live life when you're 40. So that's bringing kids into the picture. Do you have them young? So you're a young parent and you can start living your travel lives or whatever as a 40-year-old plus, or do you hold off and do that when you're young? I'm straight ahead, straight in waiting and traveling when I'm young. I've said it 700 times in this episode. I always knew my money was going on traveling, and I already feel I haven't been to enough places.
I feel you. I'm exactly the same. Sam and I often have the conversation where he's we can go to South Africa when we have children. And I'm no, I want to go to every fucking country in the world. As a young person with no kids and no responsibilities, then I would like to do the exact same fucking thing with children, and then I would like to do it retired. There's no waiting till my kids are moved out of home. I'm I'm gonna do it now at a young age. I'm going to do it with my children, and I'm going to do it retired. So I'm going to do it 3 times. Which also means I need to wait to have children.
But then there's also a lot of people that do have kids young because their goal is to have kids young and they want to travel later. So it's literally you travel young or you travel later, really. Where our hustling, quotes, or quotations, is us trying to strive towards doing a career or a job that involves traveling while we're young. And we want to do that while we're young. Exactly. So that's why we're waiting for kids. Whereas other people want to have kids when they're younger because they don't want the career path we want, and they want to travel when they're older and when they're set and their kids are all grown up, which is totally fair.
I totally agree. I just think that where I am and what I want to do and where I want to be in my 30s, I don't picture it I want to be 55 and have these memories. I want to be 24 and have those memories. That's just the way that I see it is. I'm I want those memories more than I want children right now. But I totally respect that some people grow up wanting children. That's what they want. And traveling is kind of the lower, percentage of what they want. So they can wait to do that, where I am too impatient. I physically have to go tomorrow.
Oh no. I agree. I think we're both very similar. So, I don't know. Do you have any advice? Any advice for people being stuck in what they need to do? Say someone coming out of high school right now.
I reckon there's write a list. I think write a list of what all your goals are, where you want to be in maybe 5-10 years, and then also where you want to be when you're older, because that's a part of investing in your future, is knowing what 50-year-old you would want. Do you want to have those memories? Because if that's what you think that you'll want at 50, then you are going to be investing in your future by making the right choices. But then I also think creating a list of like things that make you happy on a daily basis.
Yeah.
For me, that's planning a holiday, that's planning an event, that's hanging out with friends, rather than like, and funny enough, editing YouTube and filming YouTube videos and recording this podcast. But like, at the end of the day, some people would say reading this and that and whatever people do when they're working. And like, I think it's about figuring out what actually makes you happy and making sure
and what you love to do.
Yeah, and like if owning a house is something, and you've always been that kid who's like big on saving and who like saves for this and that, rather than like me as an example who just saves to travel or saves to go do this with my friends. Like, look at your past and look at your future and kind of figure out like just generally where you fall on that spectrum. Are you 80% travel, 20% assets, or and then live life according to that. You know?
Exactly. And even there's like, no right or wrong. Everyone literally has their own opinion and wants to do different things. And if all your friends are traveling, that does not mean you have to travel. You can go to uni, or vice versa. Like, just do what you love to do, and you'll feel yourself being pulled in like the direction that you feel is what makes you happy and love. Because if you go to uni and you're sitting there going, I wish I was in Canada, you're going to know what, you want to work towards. So
and just because no one else around you wants to be in Canada, for instance, doesn't mean that what you're feeling is wrong.
No,
like, everyone falls into a different part of that spectrum, and like part of analyzing and like reflecting on how you feel in certain situations and what your goals are allows you to like confidently make those decisions and know like this is actually who I am, and like, and not let other people influence you, because you really don't want to get to 23, 25, 30 or 80 and be like, fuck.
I think that's what we're mainly trying to say. If you're looking back on your life, you want to look back and be doing what you want to have been doing in your 20s. So, and for advice for people that are like juggling both, I mean, that comes down to, I feel like that's like, savings is a big one. If you're trying to save long term for a house and also like trying to travel in between, but also doing uni, I feel like your savings and money is like a huge part of that, which I think we're definitely going to do an episode, so keep posted, because that episode is coming, because we can just talk about what we do, because I feel like we're both in a position where we're trying to do both. But it's just balance. I don't know, do you have any advice?
No.
We're like, fuck. We're fucked.
I'm like, everything I just said. Nah, I think like my advice would be pretty much what I just said before. Like, just figure out what it is that you want, and
what more
if you're trying to juggle both, just figure out where you sit. Like, are you like, and just consciously make decisions, as I said before. Like, just be conscious of the decisions that you're making and think, am I going to feel fulfilled after this memory that I create, or is it going to be one that might be something I can skip?
And I feel like we're making that decision every single day. Like, we literally, being in the middle, we're literally making that decision every day, where you would be sitting there going, I need to film a YouTube video, but I've got this event on, like, which one am I going to choose, kind of thing. And then that's the same with me. It's like, I've got to plan this episode, or I've got to do this content. Am I going to go to this event and just like do it later? Like, you're constantly juggling, and it's pretty much every time you come to that kind of cross section, like intersection in your head with what to do, it's, you just have to be like, am I going to regret not going to this event because it will be literally the funnest memories, or am I going to regret not staying home and working on what I'm essentially trying to strive towards? So I think just take it day by day and just see in that moment what you feel like doing, and always just trying to stay present in the moment as well. Well, that's what I try and do, just try to bring myself back to the present, and that's how I try and make my decisions on those things, trying to juggle those.
Completely agree. Like, it's about like, you know, when I do come to a certain event that I'm like, I need to go to, I try to think about it like
You only have that event once as well, so.
Yeah. And that's why just like analyzing it and consciously making that decision in the moment rather than like just being like, fuck, I'm so busy, I'm just going to go because everyone's going to get angry if I don't go. But then you go and you don't enjoy yourself, so you probably should have stayed home. And that sort of ties into like the social anxiety we were talking about. Maybe not, but that's what happens with me is sometimes when I made the decision not because I made it for what I really feel like on that day, I end up regretting it, and I really did waste a night that I could have been editing a YouTube video and working towards my future. And just like, thinking about it and just being confident in the decision that you make, because either is okay, you know?
Yeah.
Don't let people tell you that you should have gone to that party because, like, you know, it's your life.
That's exactly right. It is your life. Live your life and your best life. You are the main character in your life, so do what makes you happy. But yeah, I think that concludes our episode.
Yes.
It was a bit of a jamble, a bit of a ramble, but I think you got the gist of what we're trying to say and how we deal with it as well. So, but we're going to go more into how we juggle both, I guess, with the savings kind of perspective. And then we're also going to do an episode on our kind of side passions, or if you want to call them our side hustles for our future. Because we are like obviously investing in some things for our future. So most
definitely.
things,
I think,
yeah.
I reckon that's very good episodes to talk about, like the savings specifically as like a financial episode.
It all ties into one big cloud. So
exactly. It's
how to make
living
it work.
In your 20s.
How to live in your 20s.
Cloud. Surviving your fucking 20s. Fucking sucks. Fuck this shit. Kidding.
So
it's just fucking exhausting.
Yeah, but thank you guys so much for listening and what's the word? Getting yourself involved in our polls on our Instagram and all our DMs and responses and all those type of things. We see you and we love it, and we love interacting with you guys, so definitely don't feel scared to message or DM us. We want to hear all you guys' stories. So yes, and the more you engage, the more entries you get into our giveaway as well, so that's exciting. Also download, like, share, we see all of that as well, so, and that will help us a lot. So help us invest in our futures, please. We're investing in our future with this podcast. Help us invest. But yes, thank you guys so much for listening. We'll see you in our next episode, which is It's a Mood. So that's just a fun chill. Send us through some Q&A questions, because that's what we're going to be talking about. All the random stuff. Yeah, very exciting. Fun episode. Yeah, I'm keen. Alrighty. Bye. Bye.